Welcome to our deep dive on healing tinnitus. You know, there's so much buzz about new tech and new discoveries, and it seems like tinnitus will be cured in no time.
Right.
But while we wait for that to all pan out, it's super important to build up our resilience right now.
Oh, absolutely. It's like balancing, that hope for the future with actually managing it all right now.
Exactly. And that's where you come in. You're amazing at blending all those different healing approaches into something that actually works.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm always fascinated to see how these ancient traditions and new science can actually work together.
So Sandra Kathner wrote this book called Healing Tinnitus, and it's a wild ride. She was a filmmaker, super demanding industry, and eventually it all just caught up with her stress exhaustion and then the tinnitus.
It's so common, that constant pressure. That nervous system is just always on high alert. It's a recipe for tinnitus.
And at first she tried conventional medicine. She got diazepam to help her sleep.
Yeah.
But that's not really a long-term solution. And she even had this awful experience with a brain scan.
Oh, wow.
Which really put her off the whole medical system.
Yeah, I can understand that conventional medicine is great for, those immediate problems, but something like tinnitus, it's just so complex and people end up feeling lost.
Totally. So she decides to shake things up, moves back to Spain to be closer to family, and she dives headfirst into naturopathy.
Now, naturopathy, it's all about the whole person, not just treating the symptoms, it's finding that root cause and then empowering people to heal themselves.
Okay, so what does that look like in real life? What did she actually do?
Well, she did a complete diet overhaul for 8 months. No caffeine, sugar, dairy, red meat, processed foods, just grains, nuts, vegetables. And she drank this massive green juice every single day.
That's dedication. What's the link between all that and tinnitus, though?
So many of those foods can cause inflammation, and there's a lot of research that connects inflammation and tinnitus.
So by changing her diet, she's reducing inflammation.
Exactly. It's all about creating that ideal environment for the body to heal.
Makes sense. She went deep into the science, too. She talks about how processed foods and all those pesticides, they actually disrupt our gut bacteria, and that leads to inflammation. There's a whole section in her book about the dark side of the American diet.
Right.
It's like she sees this clear connection between what we eat and chronic illness.
She's a huge advocate for organic food. It's not just about avoiding pesticides, but it's about those extra nutrients that support nerve health.
So it's about taking out the bad stuff and adding in the good stuff.
Exactly. And that was just the start of her journey. From there, she went on to explore traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda.
Okay, things are getting interesting now. Let's talk about that.
So we left off with Sandra diving into these ancient healing traditions. It's amazing how she blended that with her modern approach,
I know, right? From green juice to acupuncture needles.
Exactly, and it shows just how open she was to trying anything. So let's start with traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM. Sandra was actually in China filming a documentary when she first noticed the tinnitus, along with some stress and hormonal stuff.
Yeah, filmmaking is intense. So what did TCM offer?
She saw a TCM practitioner, and they said she had imbalances in her kidney and liver meridians.
Okay, ELI5 for me. What are meridians?
So in TCM, there are these channels of energy that flow through your body, connecting everything.
Yeah.
And the kidney and liver meridians, those are specifically tied to hearing and stress.
So the idea is if you get those back in balance, the tinnitus will improve.
Exactly. It's about the root cause, not just masking the symptoms. And acupuncture is one way they do that.
Which Sandra tried and fainted during her first session.
I know, right? But in TCM, that's actually a good sign. It means her energy was so low, her body couldn't handle the chi that acupuncture brings in.
Wow, I never knew that. So she went back for more.
She did. And eventually she found it really helpful for tension and pain relief.
It sounds like TCM really worked for her. But she also tried Ayurveda, right?
Yeah. Ayurveda is the ancient Indian system of medicine. It's all about balancing your doshas, which are these energies. And Sandra found out she's a Vata type.
Okay, and what does that mean?
Vata types tend to be more anxious, have trouble sleeping, and their nervous system is kind of out of whack, which all makes tinnitus worse.
Right. So how did she use Ayurveda to help her?
She started doing Abhyanga, which is a self-massage with warm sesame oil. Super grounding, especially for Vata types. She also used Ayurvedic herbs like ashwagandha, which is great for stress.
So we're seeing a pattern here. Calm the nervous system, reduce stress, find that inner balance. Seems like that's her key, no matter what she's trying.
Exactly, and that focus on calming the nervous system, it gets even stronger when she discovers Kundalini yoga. She calls it a turning point in her healing.
Okay, let's talk about Kundalini yoga. It sounds pretty intense.
It can be. She was going through a lot emotionally and had this spontaneous Kundalini awakening while she was living in Ibiza. Really shook her up.
A Kundalini awakening? What even is that?
It's like this surge of energy that moves up your spine. It activates your chakras, which are these energy centers. And it can be really intense, physically and emotionally. It's often seen as a spiritual awakening.
Wow, that does sound intense. How did that affect her healing?
It made her want to heal even more. And she started doing Kundalini yoga to calm her nervous system, manage her anxiety, and just reconnect with her inner strength.
So it gave her the tools to handle those intense energies.
Right. She talks about certain kriyas, which are these sequences of postures and breath work that were really helpful. One is called breath of fire. It's this fast, rhythmic breathing that's supposed to energize and purify the body.
And it sounds like it went beyond just the physical practices. It really impacted her mentally and emotionally, too.
Totally. She says it helped her release trauma and emotional blocks that she'd been holding on to for years. It was a huge transformation for her.
So we've got TCM Ayurveda and now Kundalini yoga. It's like Sandra really embraced the mind-body connection. You know, that our thoughts and feelings play a huge role in our physical health.
Absolutely. And that leads us to another big part of her journey, mindfulness.
Right, mindfulness. Everyone's talking about it these days. What does it mean for healing tinnitus, though?
For Sandra, it meant adding things like breathwork, body scanning, and gratitude exercises to her day. They helped her calm her nervous system, reduce stress, and just be more present, which is so important when you're dealing with that constant ringing.
I can see how that would help, shifting your focus away from the noise and onto something more grounding.
Exactly. And it's interesting how she connects this to her neurodivergent brain. She says her mind is always racing,
Correct.
Processing everything super fast.
So mindfulness would be even more important for her.
Right. It's a way to slow down, focus, find some peace in all that mental chaos. And there's a lot of research now that shows how good mindfulness is for people who are neurodivergent. It helps with focus, anxiety, and emotional regulation.
Okay, so mindfulness is in the mix now. What else did she explore?
Along with mindfulness, she also tried visualization and affirmations.
Those are usually for personal growth stuff. How does she use them for healing?
She used visualization to create these positive images in her mind, like imagining her auditory system calming down and the ringing fading. And she'd say affirmations like, I am healing, or I am at peace.
So it's like using your mind to change how your body reacts to the tinnitus.
Exactly. She ties it all into neuroplasticity, which is the idea that our brains can change and adapt.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
It means we have more control over our health than we think.
Exactly. And that's just scratching the surface when it comes to the mind-body connection and healing.
This is all fascinating. But I'm curious about the technology you mentioned earlier. Sandra's journey seems very focused on these ancient traditions and internal practices. Did she try any of the newer treatments?
She does mention them briefly in the book. She's cautiously optimistic about their potential. But her main focus is on empowering people to take charge of their health through lifestyle changes and self-healing.
Right. It's about finding what works for you. And sometimes the most powerful tools are already inside us.
Exactly. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll shift gears and take a closer look at those cutting-edge treatments. Get a glimpse of what the future holds for tinnitus healing. Stay tuned.
So we spent a lot of time with Sandra and her incredible healing journey. But let's not forget about the listener's original question, cutting-edge treatments that are on the horizon.
Absolutely. Sandra's book focuses on a more holistic approach, but there are some groundbreaking technologies out there that offer real hope for a cure.
Okay, let's talk tech. What's out there?
One of the most promising is a device called Linear. It's a bimodal neuromodulation device.
That sounds kind of scary. What is it?
It's actually pretty simple. It combines sound and electrical stimulation to retrain the brain and basically reduce how much you notice the tinnitus.
Okay, how does that even work?
You wear headphones that play these customized sounds, and then there are these little electrodes that go on your tongue. They give off a gentle electrical stimulation.
Wait, electrodes on your tongue?
Yeah, it sounds weird, but the tongue is actually a direct pathway to the brain's auditory system. So by stimulating both the tongue and the ears at the same time, Linear can kind of reset those neural pathways that are causing the tinnitus.
Like retraining your brain to ignore the ringing. It's incredible. Are there any side effects?
It's generally considered safe. Some people feel a little tingling on their tongue, but it goes away pretty quickly.
And does it actually work?
The clinical trials are looking really good. A lot of people are seeing a decrease in how loud their tinnitus is and how much it bothers them. It's not a cure for everyone yet, but it's definitely a step in the right direction.
That's amazing. What else is out there?
For really severe cases, there's deep brain stimulation, or DBS. It's a little more invasive, but it's showing promise for people who haven't had success with other treatments.
What's involved in that?
They implant electrodes in specific areas of the brain, the ones that handle auditory processing. And those electrodes send out continuous electrical pulses that can change the neural activity and reduce the tinnitus.
Like a pacemaker for the brain, but for tinnitus.
Exactly.
Right.
And even though it's surgery, the results have been life-changing for some people.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It gives people hope, you know? But what about a real cure? Something that gets rid of tinnitus completely.
That's the ultimate goal, right? And there are some really exciting possibilities being researched, like gene therapy and regenerative medicine.
Gene therapy? Like in those sci-fi movies.
I know, right? But it's becoming a reality. The idea is to use gene therapy to repair those damaged hair cells in the inner ear, which is often the root cause of tinnitus.
So you could actually regrow those tiny hair cells.
Exactly. And then there's regenerative medicine using stem cells to regrow those damaged cells too.
It sounds like the future of tinnitus treatment is really bright.
It is. There's still a lot more research to do, and these treatments aren't available everywhere yet, but the progress is amazing. And while we're waiting for those breakthroughs, there's so much we can do right now to manage our tinnitus and live a good life.
That's Sandra's whole message, isn't it?
Yeah.
We have the power to take control, explore different options, and build up our resilience.
Exactly. We don't have to just be victims of this condition. We have choices. We can create a fulfilling life, even with tinnitus.
Such an important message. And it really gets to the heart of what we're doing here, giving you the information and the tools to navigate your own tinnitus journey.
We hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights into tinnitus and the different paths to healing.
There's always hope. Keep learning, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep believing in your ability to heal.
Thanks for joining us. We're wishing you all the best on your journey to silence.